Tequila Talks.
Tequila Talks.
What I love about this is you and I were talking a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yo, I got this idea for a show, and I've had it for like a decade. I actually have the trademark for it.
Which is hilarious because you probably got the trademark when we were doing business in bourbon.
Probably.
Yeah.
And then it was almost like 1, 2, 3 jinx. We said it at the same time.
Yeah, Tequila Talk.
Yeah, and now we're like, the good news is like we're recording.
Yeah.
So what are we drinking? Like, let's start there, because this is important, right? You can't have tequila talk without tequila.
Right. So this is let me grab it. This is ElTequileño. So one of the things we're going to do here is we're going to try all kinds of tequilas, but we're really going to kind of focus on tequilas that you don't see. So this is not 1942. This is not the, Clase Azul, which I've loved all my life. When I didn't know what I was drinking, as I got older, I started watching, honestly, TikToks and other things. And they were like, if you're drinking this, you're a complete moron. And I was like, man, there is a reason why, like, when I drink this tequila, like, a lot, I get acid reflux. I get this and that. It's all the additives. So this is a small batch tequila from Jalisco called ElTequileño. They have a lot of different ones. This is I think it's a reposado. It is delicious. It's around $50. They have a smaller one that's a Blanco around 30, and a couple higher ends. They go up to like $300. And so this is this one. And every week we're just going to be bringing on a few ones. One week we might just have a full tequila taste. I'm like, hey, we grabbed 5, 6 tequilas that are, in the $30 range, and kind of like taste test them and have fun and stuff like that. So we'll be teaching you about tequila, fatherhood, and marketing all at the same time, guys.
Love it. Well, cheers to our first podcast.
Cheers to the first pod.
10 years, bro.
Yeah, let's get it.
It is really good.
Right?
Really good.
No tequila. And
no.
Just so you guys know, this is warm. I accidentally didn't put it in the fridge. So this is warm, and it's delicious, dude. Like, it's got really good hints, clean, clear. Like, you don't get that that you get with other kind of tequilas, right? Like, everyone has a bad relationship with tequila because they always go to Cuervo or like Patron, and they're like, oh, and it's shots. And it's like, it's shots of like additive-based garbage. But if you drink this stuff, like, tequila to me is like a sipper, or like really clean tequilas to make like a couple cocktails and stuff.
Absolutely. So we've been drinking, when I was partnered with Nick, we had the Celebrity Sour, and it was Patron and cranberry with 2 limes. And it was part gentleman, part lady of the night.
Oh.
And we all around the world, wherever we traveled, wherever we spoke, we would buy the bar out and we would just do celebrity sours for everybody. And so just fell in love with tequila through that, and then just trying new tequilas with the drink. And it's, I think you're right that a lot of people have that hate relationship with tequila.
Yes.
Because they go to, I don't know, the Mexican restaurant down the street, and they do happy hour margaritas with $4 tequila.
Right.
That's their relationship with tequila.
Yeah.
Right. Or they're taking shots where they got to eat 3 limes.
Ugh.
That's not enjoyable.
I don't put anything, if anything, on slice of an orange or something.
Yeah.
It's totally different. So yeah, by the next month, we should have at least one, and make a few, maybe even make a PDF later on, but start figuring out cocktails, because we're going to be building a set. We got a Tequila Talks set coming up here, so a lot of good things here. So we'll make up our own cocktail.
Love it. So we started with business and bourbon.
Yep.
It's probably 10 years ago.
Bro, it was probably 14 years ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So we've always had this kind of relationship with, well, it was alcoholic beverages in business.
Yeah.
But I think it's morphed as we've gotten a little bit older, in our 40s, to this kind of business and lifestyle, and using business to drive lifestyle. I think that's like huge for us, because you're a dad, I'm a dad. I think when you're young and coming up, it's all grind, business, and you hear it, you see it all day on social. That's not fun.
Yeah. So, we've known each other almost 20 years. We met in a group in Orlando, like it's called like Florida Marketing Mafia or something like that. And, we've kind of come up through the same ranks kind of situation, like our same class, so to speak, like alumni type shit. And we're both dads, and I want to preface this, like actual give a shit about your kids type dads and wife type dads. Because everyone's a dad, but that doesn't mean the same thing, right? And more like, we've been talking about like what we really want out of life. I used to think that lifestyle businesses were trash. My thought of a lifestyle business was more the coach consultant guy that's like, yeah, I'm into Kiki, and if I'll do a launch and I'll do this, and then you're always like, you don't have anything. So it always scared me, because, I didn't grow up with money. So I was like, yeah, that doesn't seem consistent. That's terrifying, right? But what I think now as a lifestyle business, if I could like kind of create that dictionary term, it's a business that you're building to create the life that excites you. Whether if you want to work 7 days a week, that is a lifestyle business you want because you want this big goal. If you want to work 3 days a week, make X amount of money and travel or whatever, and build consistency or create whatever, that's also it, right? So it's about you first, the business second. Normally, it's about the business first, and you're the number one employee.
Yeah, that's how everyone goes into it, right? Is they create the business first. They're like, I want to sell this. I want to make this kind of money without any thought to how is that going to impact my life? How is it going to impact my kids, my health, my stress, all of that? And I think now as I go into business situations, business opportunities, I'm thinking exactly the opposite.
Right.
I'm thinking, well, what do I want from my life, right? Like we were just joking, right? Like my son had baseball practice this morning from 10 to 12. He's got it again from 6 to 8. We're going to Indiana next week for his 10U World Series. That's first. And then I need to find a way to operate the things I need to do in my business to make money, to feed the family around that. And that mindset shift is super powerful because everyone else does it the opposite way. And then they go, oh crap, how am I going to fit my son's activity in or my daughter's activity in, or hell, I want to go to the gym, but I don't have time to do that because I booked meetings all day, right? And so their life is an afterthought to the business. And then all of a sudden you wake up 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later, and you see a lot of regret. I've had this really weird, fortunate opportunity to interview for documentaries a lot of the older gurus, let's call them, Jack Canfield, right? Brian Tracy. Like these guys, their number one regret is that they were always working. They were always on. Now they're 70, 80, and they're like, I don't have a great relationship with my kids. I don't have a great relationship with my spouse or my ex-spouse or my ex-ex-ex spouse. Yeah. Right. And I'm not picking on the two of them in general, that just in that genre. And that really scared me because that's the last thing that I want.
Yeah, I'll go vulnerable for a second. We don't want to harp on it because it can change the tone. But the big thing that changed for me is my dad took his own life a couple of years ago, and he was trying to make more money, and then make money, lose money, make money, lose money. And really, I thought about it like on a deeper level. I was like, that's what happened. I would have never do that because I want a relationship with my kids. I want to be a certain kind of person. But I'm living, and you get caught up in business. I don't care if it's internet marketing or whatever you do. You get caught up in like, I need money. I say yes to everything. I start to get money. I say no to everything. And then I'm working to grow the thing, to go to an event, to let everyone know that I belong in this place because I'm a part of the thing and I'm equal to your status. But low-key leaving like, oh, but Greg, John, and Peter are way better, so I got to grind harder. What you forget is like what you end up having is a very high-paid job. You forget about who you are. And so I used that time to be like, who am I? Like, what do I want? What would matter to me if I really like wanted to do things? And I realized like, net worth, all that stuff, I want it. It's not my number one. I want to spend time with my friends and literally go on vacation with my friends. I want to work and be partners with people that I love, and I want to have barbecues with and kick it. And I want to be like a crazy next level, like a gangster friend with my wife and my kids. If I can achieve that and end up in a funeral, I'm solid as fuck, dude. And I think like a lot of people live life, but they never get to experience it because they just go through motions. This is the equivalent of a job. People are like, oh, when you have a business, it's different. It becomes a job. You become the robot that does the task to achieve the goal. A job is the robot that does the task to achieve the goal. You forget who you are. And, hopefully in this podcast, we'll go deep sometimes and we'll have a good conversation about a lot of different things. But we want to open up the opportunity for you guys to think like, who am I? What am I doing? Like, what kind of dad am I being right now? What kind of husband am I being right now? Like what kind of fulfillment am I getting? I've talked to so many people because you consult a lot of people, and I've talked to people doing 10 million, 15 million, and they're like, I just got to get to 100. And I'm like, why? And it's like, well, it's what's next, man. I'm like, why?
But for what? Because of external pressure, because of ego, right?
And they don't have an answer. Yeah. But when they're like, what do you want? I was like, happiness. I'm like, what does that look like? This is exactly what that looks like, bro. He's like, so what do you want to make? I was like, I more than what I'm making now without like sacrificing the things that I just said first, right? And it takes a lot of deeply looking into yourself and being like, fuck, man, like this is facts, because I can't say that to you. You would dismiss me, whatever, same here. You got to look in the mirror and have that kind of conversation with yourself as a man, as a husband, as a woman, whatever the case is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the world we find ourselves playing in all the time is a very ego-driven world. Right. They create content because they want to be the star. They want the fame, the accolades. They want, whatever the case is. And so
they want recognition.
Yeah. They want recognition. Maybe it's, small man syndrome. Maybe it's, they want to prove it to somebody, whatever Fear. It is, but it's all ego driven. Yes. It's not purpose driven or ambition driven. And I used to teach this equation was like ambition greater than ego, right? And change ambition for mission, for purpose, for higher calling, for whatever that is, that has to be greater than your ego, right? Because ego is saying, I need to make more money. Why? I don't know, because I'm supposed to make more money. That's ego, right? If it's to make more money because that will help serve more people, that's different. Right. The money, though, is a byproduct of service, of helping, of mission, of whatever it is. And so I think people need to look in and say, well, what are we doing all of this for? Right. And to me, it's whether it's in service to your family, in service to your customers, your shoppers, the people that you work with, and that you're actually out there giving value. Right. Like I don't care if I get 1 million followers for somebody watching this video or 3, if somebody writes back and says, hey, that actually helped me think differently today. Like that's the part of it that gets me. I could care less about the likes and the following. I don't have the biggest social following in the world. Never have. Never will. And I'm cool with that. I'm content with that because of why I'm doing it. And again, putting it into context of like the ambitions that I have to help people or in service of people or whatever it is greater than the ego. Now, it wasn't always that way.
For sure.
Right? Like I worked.
And it still sometimes creeps up. It's like, hey,
it
buddy.
always creeps up. It's always there, right? Like ego's the enemy, holiday style, right? Like it's always there. It's always going to come up because, we're humans, right? I see what you're doing. I'm like, shit, I need to be doing more because he's doing more. Or like I see someone, that's really cool on social. I want to try that. Or like someone hits another award or whatever it is. You're
someone
like,
gets a new Lambo. You're like, I can get one, but like, do I like it? Like, it's ridiculous, man. Like all we do is always compare ourselves, and you've got to be really on top of it to be like, I'm doing it again. And I think for me, it comes from just like being poor. Like, and then getting into the groups and being like, man, I don't belong here. And dude, I've had friends, I had a conversation with a friend who's a billionaire. I think I've told you who it is, where sometimes we'll be sitting at dinner. He's like, why don't you do more important things? And I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you have a family? And then he's like, honestly, I would give it all up to have that. And I'm like, I wouldn't give my family up to have what you have.
Right?
Not at all.
And I think it's just getting priorities on what are those most important things. And I think most people, it's really easy for them to say what they do want. I want more money. I want the fancy car. I want this, but they never say like what I don't want. Yeah. Right. Like I need to really think about what are the things in my life that I don't want anymore.
Yeah,
right?
This is a good thing to like. Also, by the way, we already nailed it. Like we already know what to do.
Yeah,
like it's just sentence, boom, done. Yeah. So do this for yourselves, guys. Like write this down on pen and paper. Write down like who you are, who you want to be in 5 years. But before that, who you are today. What are you doing today? What is fulfilling today? What does a perfect day look like? And why? And if you want 10 million, all that kind of stuff, why? But also say, I want this house, this car, these things. And then like do math about it and figure out how much that is. I bet you're getting into, you're like, oh, that's like $500,000 a month, whatever. I bet you it's 60, 75 grand, and that's you might be like, dude, I'm like almost there. Like, yeah, but your priorities are changing. The way you act upon your life is what makes you reflect differently upon the actual circumstance you potentially might be in.
Yeah. So going along with that, so there's something that I do every morning. I grab my phone, pull up Evernote, right? This is something I read every single morning, and I have 2 things, like who's the best version of me? Right. When I show up the best identities, and then what are I call them my heroic identities. If I'm like the superhero version of Greg, who am I? Right. And so I read these things. So the best version of me, I say, I'm focused on the mission. I think like a stoic. I train like an athlete. I create something today, and I'm grateful for it all. And I say that every single day. None of that has anything to do with how many customers do I have? How much money am I making? How many leads am I generating? Like none of that, right?
But that guy gets that result though.
But that guy gets the results because if I'm focused on the mission, that means my energy and my attention is focused on the prize, right? Yeah. Like no distractions, right? If I'm thinking like a stoic, I'm thinking like I'm not letting the outside world control me. I'm controlling the controllables, right? Like that's the most important part of stoicism that I like. I train like an athlete. My body is everything. So if I take care of myself, if I work out in the morning, I have the energy to get through the day. I create something today. That's my most important value that I can give to the world is to create something, right? Whether it be a podcast, a video, a piece of content, an email, like whatever it is, I have to be creative, right? And then I'm grateful for it all, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. I'm grateful for it because that's what I've created around me in my life.
You know what I've noticed when you have this kind of mindset, because I have a very similar one. I just call it like, what level of frequency am I? Right? Yeah. Like it's the same thing, but I'm like, all right, like I'm being a low level frequency low. So like higher level frequency low doesn't even, he wouldn't be friends with that other version of me. Right. And so who is that guy? The epitome of health, the epitome of like being in shape, cardiovascular wise. I do Muay Thai. I do kettlebells. Like I'm doing calisthenics like a champion. I'm always, eating well, thinking right, and focused on the tasks, but I'm always grateful. And I think that I hated being grateful. I was like, that's stupid. That's ridiculous.
I just thought it was corny. Like, wake up every day, right?
I was like,
I'm
you're
grateful
an
for the
idiot.
blue sky that's outside. Like, I thought it was so cheesy, but
once I became grateful in a way that for me was like, man, like another version of me would have cried to be here today.
Absolutely.
Like, it changes everything. And then I realized that I cannot get in fights with people because I just say what I'm thinking and I address things quicker, and it makes people uncomfortable. But I'm like, no, listen. All I'm saying is let's have this conversation now because you're thinking it and I'm just expressing it. So what's your rebuttal? And if someone says anything about me, Los, you're not working enough. Los, you're not doing this. I'll accept and be like, I appreciate that, because when you become grateful, you become more ego-less. You know, your ego doesn't die, but you become less egotistical, and so thus you don't have to be defensive. What do you mean, bro? Well, you know what? It's you. You go, oh, dude, I can totally understand that. You know, when I talk to people now, I'm like, listen, I'm going to say some stuff. We're going to have a conversation. The only answer that's going to be right is the data. Right? Like if it's a work conversation, like, yeah, but you, like, yeah, but the numbers aren't, am I letting that down, or are you, or can we fix this together? Once you become that, like, there are no problems. And so I think being grateful for me now, I wish there was a better word, because I still hold it. And I think people still look at it as like, okay, I'm just going to write in a journal. It's not that. It's just being man enough or woman enough to appreciate, like, I never thought I'd be here. And now that I'm here, I'm unhappy. And that's my fault because I don't take the time to appreciate, like, man, like, I can't believe we're sitting in a 6,000 square foot office, and you've known me when, like, I had no office. I had to work at yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's wild. I love that. I love that a lot. And just thinking through, again, if you're watching this, is like, what are your identities? What are the things that make you the most energized version of you? And you're not going to have 100% of the days go the way that you want them to go, right? Like, that's not what we're talking about, but you understanding and reverse engineering who is the best you. Like, I know that at 3:00, if I'm dragging ass, if I'm not performing, if whatever it is, I can look back and say, you know what? I didn't work out today. I didn't eat good. I'm letting the outside world affect me. Like, it's so simple. Yeah. Right? Because I know exactly what makes me the best version of me. So but
it's being honest with you.
But you have to be honest with yourself.
You got to be honest with you.
You 100% do.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is, you just kind of got to run the program, run the software.
Yeah.
Right? And on the days you least feel like doing it, that's when you need to revert back to your protocol. Like, what's my protocol? Every morning, get up, do X, do Y, do Z. Yeah. And it doesn't, like, I'm not a fan of these 900 point, like, morning formulas, right? Or morning routines. Like, I think that's ridiculous. But what are the 1, 2, 3 things, right? Grab a glass of water. I meditate for five minutes. It's not an hour-long practice. Go outside.
I do breath work. I can't meditate, but I do the Wim Hof thing.
Super quick.
And that's it.
Right? Get in, get out. And then, again, run the protocol. And when you do that, you're the better version of yourself. And it doesn't matter what it is. For forever, I used to joke with people, and I was like, you know what my morning routine is? I sit with my, at the time, 5-year-old, and then we watch SportsCenter together.
Yeah.
Because that was my quality time with him. We talk about the games. We do all, like, that's what set me up for the day, is I had time with my little man, because I know I'm about to go to work for whatever, 7, 8, 10 hours.
Yeah.
And I know that I had that quality time. That was my morning routine.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? And I think entrepreneurs, hustle culture, you can't do that. You got to go. I'm like, fuck that. Like, for real, like, this is the most important thing that I can be doing in this moment.
This should become the I hate that my handle sometimes is Los Hustle, and it's become like a name, because I lost my, someone stole and, like, hacked into my name. And so I didn't find similar names. And so we had to add something to it. And so I found it. I was like, I don't know, Los Hustle. Literally, I was like, we tried 17. I was like, no. I was like, I don't know, what about that one? Cool. And it stuck. And so it puts me in a pattern of, like, I'm supposed to be that guy, but I want this podcast to reflect completely different things.
Well, but hustle's not a bad thing. Hustle's good when it's self-directed.
Yeah.
Right? Like my 10-year-old son, right? Like, he is hustling his ass off. He's got, the 10U World Series, going to play 24 teams from all across the world next week. He's hustling his ass off. There's a time and a place, and he's directing that focus, right? Like, when there's a time and place for me and you to buckle down and do the work, we will. We will. But I'm not doing it at the sacrifice of the things that are truly important to me. When it comes to family, I hustle my ass off, right? When it comes to being there for my kids and being at baseball practice, I hustle.
Do you take family, and, like, might be a bad connotation to people, but do you look at family as a job? Like, in a work capacity?
Maybe, in the fact that I do schedule family time.
Yeah.
Because if it's on, what's on your calendar usually gets done. If I had an appointment with you,
it's not real.
Right. If me and you didn't have this on the calendar today, I wouldn't be here, right? Like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Right. So same thing when my kids have practices, date night, dinners, all those things, they're on the calendar. And what that also does is that means that no one can book a call with me at 6:00 at night, because that's scheduled family time. So yeah, it's But that is the most important thing, because there's also clarity. Todd Herman, really good dude, alter ego effect. He's calls it like you have like these tchotchkes or things that take you from one identity to another.
Yeah.
And I go from working Greg to dad Greg to coach Greg, and it's little things, right? It's putting the hat on, it's grabbing the baseball bag, it's whatever it is. So I know that at 5:01, computer typing Greg stops, dad Greg starts. I step on the baseball field, now I'm coach, right? And so there's these little events that transition from one identity to another.
100%.
And that makes my life so much easier, because now they know dad's door's closed, dad's in work mode.
So I get asked, I'll ask it differently too, because you said the answer I was looking for, but ask it differently. You get this all the time because you're like me. I get this all the time. Yo, how do you have so many relationships and they're like so good? Like people are like, yo, that's one of my closest friends. Like people adore you and adore me, right? And they're like, how do you do it? I was like, I try. I have it in a calendar to send them a gift. I have it in a calendar to make a conversation. If I'm interested in you, I actually will call you and be, yo, what up, bro? And see where it goes. Sometimes I'll even say like, yo, I think there's a great relationship here. Let's go deeper. I do that with my family. I schedule time to like go to dinner and date nights. I schedule time to send Laura random ass days of flowers. She's like, why? I'm like, cause I love you. I don't do like every day, like here's a poem for this, whatever. But like, I care about it like a relationship that I don't want to lose, because you don't want to lose business relationships. You send them gifts. You have it think you'll send them books. Like you don't want to lose that retention. I don't want to lose the retention with my family. So you have to think of it not financially, but in that context, it's the same thing. If you care about relationships, you have to put time into them.
I think that's awesome. I think that's not me, and it's not a fault. That's a weird thing. But like, as you were saying that, I'm really bad at that with people outside of my family.
Okay.
Meaning like there's people that I know I should probably text, just say what up, like business relationships, contacts, like, nope. I'm really bad at that, except for the family. The people that I know that I need to give everything to. And I think that that's something that I've thought about. Every once in a while I'll get in that zone where you're like, all right, I'm just going to text 10 people, but I do
it with people I want to become closer actual friends with, not like get money from.
Yeah. I need to do better at that. I am not good at that, because it's much easier for me to do loner shit. And I think one of the biggest faults in my life and my career on the business side is that I operate better to a fault as a lone wolf.
Yeah.
Is that it's way easier for me to put my head down and just say, fuck it, I'm going for it. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to do it. I don't need help. I don't need a designer. I don't need this. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out myself, and I'm not going to ask for help. And that gets me into trouble a lot, but it also has gotten me so far. Right. So I think it's like a blessing and a curse. And I think one of the realizations I've had as I've gotten older is like, I need to start being, it's cheesy, right? The last Cars movie with Lightning McQueen, where he realizes that he's no longer the racer, he's the coach. Yeah. And you have to put people in position around you in order to, and it's not even to get me where I want to go, but in order to fulfill those missions and do, like, there's just that passing of the torch, and I'm starting to get there, but I'm still not really good at it. Yeah. I've never been good. Like when we had our biggest team, it was like 30, 40 people. Like I was the most miserable in my life, right? Like the people energy.
Well, you take the energy. Yeah.
They suck the energy from me. And maybe it's a fault of the people I hired. Like,
no, I mean, at the end of the day, like you're a therapist. If you're in any kind of business, you're in HR because you're in business. Totally. And then if you have consulting client service people, you're in HR. If you want to get them to the biggest thing, you're in therapy. Like a lot of the highest level people that pay me, bro, it's personal development. It's not work. It's not business. Like, why don't you think you can do this? Like you're doing the, I don't know, man. I'm like, oh, it's this. It ends up, dude, I've saved people from divorce.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows what they need to do in business. That's the easiest thing in the entire world.
It's accepting it.
It's accepting it, or the distractions around them that are pulling them in other ways to where they don't do it. Right. Yeah. They'll know what to do. They just don't do it. Yeah. Right. And so I think you're right. It's that therapy, it's that personal development. I think that's why I gravitate towards personal development a lot, is because that's the key, right? I'm in sports every day, right? We created a mental skills program for the kids that I teach every week, right? So every week I go out and I teach the kids for 30 minutes, like a new mental skill thing. And it's crazy because if you ask any professional athlete, right, what percentage of the game is mental? And they'll tell you 90%. Right. Well, then why do you spend 90? Tim Grover. Yeah. Well, why do you spend 98% of your time on the court taking more shots and only 2% writing down your goals, looking at your goals, working on discipline, working on focus, how to get in the zone, how to get into a flow state, how to block out distractions, you spend 2% of your time on there. And that goes for everybody and everything with life. Like same with business owners, right? We spend 97% of our time in the weeds in our business, and only 3% of the time, like listen to a podcast on the way to work with no application, no implementation, no execution on any of that. Just like, yeah, this shit sounds good. Maybe I should do some of that gratitude stuff you guys are talking about. And I think we need to spend more time on the execution of that. It's going to make the execution of the business stuff.
I think it's because like it's been kind of like taken down, like hustle is bad, but also good. And then like self-help or like self-help days or whatever their people call it, right? Like self-care days. And you're like, oh, that's ridiculous, dude. But like yesterday, right? I didn't go to work. I didn't not work. I didn't come here because I could do things from there. I spent more time with my kids. Me and my daughter had the best day ever. I have two of them, but like I kind of focused more on one. It was like the best, right? Bought clothes together. Like we were just homies type stuff. Yeah. That day meant not a lot to the work day. It didn't kill anything that I was already doing. It meant a lot to her. It meant everything to me. And it re-energized me to come back here and be like, yo, I need to kill it here so I can do more of those. You know?
Well, and how many times have you left the office, gone for a drive, a walk, a run, a gym session? That's where the breakthrough happens. Yeah. It's super cliche, but I think cliches are cliches for a reason.
They are.
And it's because, you're not staring at your computer, the same walls. You're looking out at nature. You're looking at the environment. You're letting your surroundings and your environment control you. That's a good thing. And I think the best ideas come when you do have some of those moments, like yesterday, right? You're out shopping with your daughter, you're going around town, you're driving. Like that's when you allow your brain to soak in everything that's not 6 inches in front of you on a screen. Yeah. And so it's just so powerful to get away. Now, you can't do that 90% of the time. That's ridiculous. No. But you have to give yourself the freedom to say that that's okay.
The other thing that I've realized too is, working with a lot of people, one, lack of permission, but two, lack of really keeping goals, right? Let's say we're working together and you're like, yo, I want to hit 250 grand this month. Okay. And then you do. Then you don't like sit back and go 2 days. Hey, let's say you hit it the third week of July instead of the fourth week. So you have the third week of July to sit 2 days extra of like not doing anything, think outside, not come here, and then come back and be like, hey, we kind of hit this right. It's asinine to go, hey, let's 40% up it. How do we do 10 more percent, guys, and keep moving this ball? What normally happens is like, yo, we did it. We should smash it. Again, why? Like, why are we doing the things that we do? Not enough of us question ourselves in the right internal ways. Because if you just sat there, or I sat there and I was like, I think I could do 10%. Like we hit it in 3 weeks. 30% might kick my ass, might beat the team up. But 10, like, okay, what could we do this week that might get us 5? Okay, let's run that play. Once you hit the thing, it's more.
Right. Well, it's healthy growth, right? Like you wouldn't go to a CrossFit gym not doing any pull-ups and the next day do 80.
Yeah.
I did one today, I'm going to do 80
and
tomorrow.
Waited.
Right? It's healthy growth, but it's in all areas of your life, right? Like the people who go cold turkey from eating pizza to eating super clean. Like you have to have this slow growth. And the same thing's true in business. Well, not slow growth, healthy growth, right? So yes, we want to continue to grow our business, right? But you're right. Like everybody wants to be like, oh, I got to get on Instagram so I can tell everybody that I 7X my business month over month. Like that's not healthy growth. That's you're asking for your business to explode and implode. And I know you've been there. I've been there. And there's moments like where you're like, wow, I hit the gas pedal, but I wasn't ready for the repercussions. I don't have enough inventory now. Now I need to hire more people. Now like the headaches go, now you just exponentially increased your headaches.
When you made huge mistakes making that choice, why do you think it's so difficult in business? Because like you said, in fitness, I'm not going to weigh 200 pounds and be like, yo, I need to be 176% by July. Well, it's June. I was like, you expect to take time. In school, hey, I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer. I'm 8 years into this and I'm not going to make money once it moves. People get that, right? But work is like, hey, I did this. So how do I like 19X? How do I become like you? You've been doing this for 40 years. Let's ignore that. Let's just do that. If not, I'm a failure.
Yeah. Well, it's like Amazon Prime of their career, right? Everything shows up in our life instantly. And we expect that to happen. Like we have so many young people, they just get out of college. I get that you could probably got a lot of student debt and all that, but they want a 6-figure job 2 days out of college. Like, homie, we got some work to do, right? You have to like prove your worth. The example I always give is like McDonald's, right? Like you go to McDonald's, no matter how good you are at dipping the fries, that's only worth X amount of dollars to McDonald's. It doesn't matter how good you are at it. It's still only worth $12 an hour, 15, whatever minimum wage is now. That's all it's ever going to be worth, right? So you have to find the places that allow you to have some of that growth, but you also have to understand the game that you're playing.
It's a long tail game.
Right? It is a long tail game, and we're going to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, there's a lot of choices that you have to make in that career path, in what you want from your life, in happiness, in life partner situation, you know, and how long are you willing to delay your happiness?
Yeah. What's the point of being a human that you can achieve things if your happiness is revolving around something materialistic? At the end of the day, let's give you like 10 million a month that you're making. Cool. You're just investing. You're not doing more. Like, but who did you lose becoming or being because you achieved?
Or that your happiness is tied to something that you don't control.
Right.
Right. So like we had a couple partners for a couple years. We were in the heavy in the video game and going for like Emmy Awards and things like that. Right. And I had a friend and a partner who his entire self-worth was wrapped in winning an Emmy. And we didn't win it year one. We didn't win it year, and he really felt like his life was collapsing, that he was a failure. And I'm like, how are you? Like, you don't have control over Bob in Oklahoma who's voting for this thing. Like, you have no control over that. What do we have control over? That's where we need to get our happiness from. We have control over creating the best product possible. We have control over making sure that we put together the best film, the best show, the best characters. We brought the best people involved. We took our time to do like, that's what we can control, putting out that product. If Bob from Oklahoma gives a shit about it, that doesn't have anything to do with us or our self-worth or our happiness. And so we need to find intrinsic happiness about the things that we can control, our effort, our, you know, the things that we want to bring into the project, our focus, our energy, so that at the end of the day, we say, you know what? I did a damn good job today. I'm proud of the work that we did.
You can control the effort you put into things.
The energy and the effort.
That's it.
That's it.
Guys, this podcast is going to hit. I'm super excited about it. Guys, I hope you guys are excited about it too. Join the notifications and subscribe to myself and Greg. Do you have an Insta?
At Greg Roulette.
At Los Hustle. Unfortunately, it's going to stay like that forever. But follow us, guys. Let us know what you guys want to hear us talk about. And we will see you on the next episode.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.